Hi, it's time for another verb of the day. Today's verb is teach. Let's take a look at some of the definitions. The first way we use this verb teach is to mean to show or explain to someone how to do something. A second way we use this word teach, and this might seem a bit similar to the first one, is to give information about or instruction in a subject or skill. A third way we use this verb teach is to mean to cause someone to learn or understand something by example or experience. So to illustrate this third meaning, if you live in the Midwest, there's a good chance you might not have had power for a week or more during the last week because of the derecho. And this experience, for many people, has taught them something new. Perhaps it's the importance of having a generator, or the importance of trimming your trees in your yard regularly. We might think of this third definition as learning or being taught a lesson. There is another way this verb teach gets used, but it's, again, really connected to the first and second meanings, and that's to be in the profession of teaching. So again, it's when your job is to show and explain or to give information and instruction. Teach is an irregular verb. To make the progressive form, we're going to add ing to make teaching. The past tense and participle forms have completely different spellings and pronunciations. So for the past tense and the participle form, our verb is going to be taught. Taught. You might be relieved to know that we really don't have any phrasal verbs that we regularly use with the verb teach. So there are no additional meanings or definitions that we need to learn. So let's move on to doing some verb tense practice with our verb of the day, teach. Today, we'll look at the imperative, simple present, and future perfect. Let's start with the imperative. You might remember that this is about giving a command, telling someone to do something. And what's unique about the imperative is that in this sentence, whether we're stating it or speaking it or writing it, there is no stated subject. The subject is implied. That subject is either you, singular, to one person, or you, plural, to more than one person. So generally, with these sentences in the affirmative, we just start with the base verb. But it's always good to be polite and kind as we speak and talk to people, so you can essentially make the imperative a bit more friendly and kind by starting off with the word please. So that's what you're going to see here in the first example. Please teach me how to do that. Okay? So again, that sounds much kinder than ordering someone. Teach me how to do that. If I want to make a negative sentence in the imperative, I can start with do not, or the contraction don't, and then the base verb. And just like the affirmative, we could start the sentence with please as well to soften it. But I didn't include that here just to show you different ways that we speak and write. So let's take a look at an example of a negative imperative sentence. Don't teach the children bad habits. Right? So this might be one spouse talking to the other, or perhaps other adults in the room. So, in the simple present, we're going to make slight modifications to our base verb if our subject is he, she, or it. So you'll notice in my example here, I have he teaches high school students. And my spelling there is ES at the end, and that's because this verb ends with a CH. This is a very common spelling rule in English. If I was talking about more than one person, right, so I want to talk about two people, I would say they teach high school students. To make negative simple present, we're going to use does not and the base verb, or do not and the base verb. You might hear native speakers use the contraction doesn't or don't. Here's an example. Schools don't teach division to kindergartners. This is a good reminder to point out, simple present talks, we use this for factual statements, when we want to state a fact, and this is a fact. Division is just a little too hard, right? We want our kindergartners to be able to count, and so that's the focus for those that particular age of students. If I want to make a yes or no question in the simple present, I'm going to start with do or does, then I'll have my subject, and then the base verb. Let's take a look at an example. Do they teach computer classes at the library? Again, this statement might be asking about kind of a habit or routine. Are these classes offered to the public, the people who live in the community? Next, let's take a look at future perfect. To make this verb tense, we are going to use will, have, and then the participle form of the verb. Let's take a look at an example sentence. By the time we have a vaccine, the virus will have taught us many lessons. So this statement is talking about a future event. We all hope that we are getting closer and closer to having a vaccine for COVID-19. And at that point in time, once we have that vaccine, it will have taught us many lessons about how we protect ourselves from illness, how we stop the spread of illness, for example. If I want to make a sentence negative in the future perfect, I'm going to use will not have and then the participle form of the verb. You might hear native speakers use the contraction won't. Here's an example. We won't have taught them all the lessons by the end of next week. What you might be noticing with the future perfect is that we're all sort of signaling out into a future point in time and whether an action will be completed or will not have been completed quite yet. Finally, let's take a look at a yes or no question in the future perfect. To make this, we're going to start with will, then our subject, then have, and the participle. Here's an example. Will they have taught the students the new check-in procedure before classes start? So many schools are adopting new ways to do health checks for students before classes begin, to stop the spread of COVID-19. Next, let's take a look at some words that are related to our verb teach. The first is one that I hope is not new for you. It's teacher, right? That's a noun, and it's a person who teaches, particularly in a school or as one's profession. It doesn't have to be that way. Right now, many people are describing their parents, their moms and their dads as being teachers, again, because of the pandemic. Here's an example sentence using our noun. Teachers are busy preparing for the school year. Another related word is the adjective teachable. It means able to be taught or able to be learned from teaching. Here's an example of it. This is a teachable moment for parents and children. So there we're just describing that there's something that we can all learn from a particular event or period in time. The opposite of teachable is the adjective unteachable, and it means unable to be taught. Here's an example. Some teachers think that that group is unteachable. So again, it might be describing a group of students for whatever reason they just don't feel like they're going to be able to learn from teaching. The last related word that we'll look at today is reteach. It's a verb, and it means to teach someone or something again. So anytime you see that prefix re at the beginning of words, many times think of again or anew. That's generally what that prefix means. Let's take a look at an example of reteach in a sentence. After the long break, she decided to reteach the chapter. And I think this verb is something that many teachers are contemplating right now because many people missed out on schooling and education for months due to the pandemic. So they think, do we need to come back and reteach this particular material so that people understand it? Thanks so much for watching today's video. I hope you have a great day.